Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Because it's hot, we're going bass fishing again. This is another small lake in the North Kawartha chain. It's got largemouth, it's got smallmouth, but it fishes a little different than the lake that we were on previously. So the plan is to catch some flipping today, but we've spent many a day out here and have learned the only thing they'll touch sometimes is the good old wacky worm. So we're gonna go out, we're gonna flip around for some buckets, maybe catch some smallies, and if we find some and they won't touch anything else, we got the Sankos, might throw a Nico rig at them, maybe a Ned rig, I don't know. We're gonna go bass fishing and see how it goes. Get out on the water and enjoy the day. So stick around, hopefully we get some big ones. And with that, the first tip of the day, it is never too shallow for largemouth. Going along here, caught one up super shallow, tried some stuff out closer to deeper water, lots of small ones. So then we came into the next cut over, started to work the bay, saw some nice green weeds, pads, wood, and I literally just said to Griffin, we gotta try up shallow. Some of the biggest bass we've ever seen have been super shallow. 6 inches of water, and he ate the flippin' jig. All right, let's get another one, guys. Counts. You know, again, we're fishing a clear water fishery in the North Kawarthas today. Shallow cover on these lakes gets a ton of pressure. Everybody flips the docks, everybody fishes the pads. So I'm flipping with fluorocarbon again, 20-pound fluorocarbon on that 894 GCX by G Loomis, 7.5 heavy. I like to flip with medium heavies too, but when I'm using the fluorocarbon, you need to account for the stretch. So a heavy rod to really jack them and get the fish in the boat, other than that one, of course. Another tip, it can get exciting when you're around some of this cover because everything looks so good and you want to put your jig in 10 spots, but you got to really remember to take your time, flip in, let your jig go down to the bottom. Most of the time those fish will eat off the bottom. You can get lucky and catch them on the fall or swimming it back, but let that jig go to the bottom and bounce it a few times, really work it on the bottom. You wouldn't fish a Ned rig fast and pull it away from a fish or a tube. Same thing with a jig. Slow down, work that jig slow, you'll get a few more bites. I'm guilty of it too, boys. Sometimes you roll up to a spot and you go, I want to hit that side, the front, the back, everything, right? But a lot of times if you can just try to slow down and really pick a piece of cover apart, soak your jig in there, it can pay off. Work it right back to the boat too, because sometimes, you know, that covers obviously the hot spot, that tree, that dock, whatever you're fishing. But it's crazy how many of those fish hang out just a little bit deeper in the cover that's in front. You know, they got trees here, but out front of the trees there's all kinds of logs and weed and all kinds of stuff they could hold in. So work that jig right back. Obviously be ready when it's up under your main point of cover. But pay attention as that jig comes back and see if there's stuff in between you and that cover that could hold some fish too. Hey, if you can feel them like this, you can feel bigger ones, right? Fluorocarbon definitely takes some time to practice with and learn. I think you just got to slow down with it. You got to slow down. You got to watch your line. Don't pull the bait away from the fish too quickly. There's another one.
Oh, decent one too.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. That's another solid back lake bass. Flipping jig right in the schnoz. That's what it's about, guys. Catching fish. It's largemouth bass season for sure. Deep weed fish. So there's a few things that I like to do with my flipping jig before I start fishing them. First thing, we got a brand new flipping jig out of the pack here, especially because I flip with fluoro and there's a little bit of stretch, I don't want as much of a weed guard. So what I do is I take the weed guard. First thing I kind of do is flare it, and then I'm gonna cut off at least 50%, sometimes even a little bit more of that weed guard. I'm gonna take almost, let's say 70% of that weed guard, and I'm just gonna saw it right off, just like that. So now that weed guard is a lot thinner. If I was using this around really heavy cover, maybe I'm not gonna do that. But when we're flipping stuff like this, wood, thin pads, docks, I'm not too worried about a lot of the thick stuff, so thin that weed guard right out. The second thing I do is you'll notice when you have a skirt, most of them, they got that band, that rubber band in the center of the skirt, and half of it goes up and half of it goes down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pinch each one of those halves and I'm gonna cut it on a 45-degree angle. That way some of the strands are getting shortened, some of them are staying longer. It's all gonna mix it up. Now I'm not going right down to the rattles. I'm only going maybe half an inch, a quarter inch, something like that. And I'm gonna cut on a 45-degree, just like that. And then I'm gonna do it with the other side of the skirt. I'm gonna cut it on a 45 like that. And that thins the skirt out a bit, flares it out a bit, maybe shrinks the profile just a bit. Stick my trailer on there and away we go. Little guy. Well, we're just wrapping up the day here. There's another one on the jig. One of the most fun ways to catch them. Okay, so let's talk about jig trailers. There's a few go-tos that I use, but I try not to complicate it. I keep it pretty straightforward. I'm not a guy that likes a lot of action on my jig trailer. When have you ever seen a crayfish going like this, as it falls down? I want a straight fall. I don't want any action going down. If I can get some sort of action where when my jig's on the bottom for the claws to stand up, great. But I'm not looking for those crazy flapping trailers. I like typically just your standard little chunk with no flappers, just those tiny little, appendages with no action. They fall straight down, kind of stand up on a 45 when it's on the bottom. I don't do anything fancy with it. When I take one of these chunks, I just put it right through the jig like that and hang it off. And that's all the action that I want. I don't want it to do anything crazy. Lots of different companies make those chunks. I use the Zoom ones. I use some from some local Ontario companies. I either go green pumpkin or black. Don't get fancy with your jig trailers. And that's my go-to. There's the nice ones of the day. Nothing too giant, but still, for catching a whole bunch of them on the jig.
Solid day.
Yeah, it's all right. All right, that was a good day of largemouth fishing. Thanks for watching this video. As always, everybody, bash that subscribe button. Like if you enjoyed it. Follow myself. Follow Griffin. Stay tuned for more content. Happy fishing, folks. See ya.